Hello, welcome. Um, Wanted to come on here. Let me lower this chair a little bit. There we go. I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot recently, and I feel there's a growing sense in the community about this topic, and I don't really have a script or anything for this video. I just kind of want to freely discuss some thoughts, and it's about the state of MMA currently, state of mixed martial arts, state of UFC, because it really is mainly just UFC at the moment running things. Obviously, there's other promotions, but a lot of them haven't really got off the ground too much. And if someone were to ask me, how do you feel about MMA currently? You know, I would say I still love it. It's still one of my favorite things in the world, but there is part of it for me that feels like it's missing. There's something missing that was around when I first got into the sport, which was 2015, so almost 10 years ago, like summer 2015. So something seems to be missing a little bit, and it's a hard thing to quite to like put your finger on exactly. You know, people talk about a star problem, people talk about the talent, people talk about like an overabundance of shows, and I think that all could be true and contributing. You think back to the time period when I started watching, if you were around that time. If you weren't, I don't want to exclude you, but let me just indulge me for a second here. I feel like every card was meaningful. I feel like every card had something to ignite interest for the most part. And I don't know if that was just the talent that was around then, or UFC being more hungry as a company to prove themselves, to land an ESPN deal, to sell the company. I mean, you think about the names who were active at that time: Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, John Jones, Daniel Cormier. I mean, so many other people. Brock coming back. It was a whole different time, and you look at the UFC now, and there is still fighters that I absolutely love, and I get inspired by, and I love watching, but for some reason, part of it feels forced to me. Like the UFC is forcing me to like these guys. They're forcing me to, you know, or they want me to watch these Apex shows that have just nothing for me. Like the interest for those shows for me is zero. Um, and I think a lot of the words and vocabulary used and the discussions around the sport and in the sport also contribute to me being bothered. For instance, when someone comes around and they get a couple good wins, people just love to throw around the word star and superstar. Like, as UFC and as a community, we're so eager to just crown the next biggest thing. This guy's the biggest star in the sport now. This guy is an up and coming star. This guy has the potential to be a huge star. It's like, why are we doing this? Why do we keep trying to crown the biggest star in the sport? Is it because there's a fucking massive crater when Conor McGregor's not fighting? Is that what it is? Because whether you love him or not, when he comes around, everything is more interesting, and that's a real fucking star, okay? No one right now is comparing to that. Like, not even close. And to think that anyone is like, guys, we need to have a reminder, I think, of how big Conor is. But why are we so eager to go and crown the next superstar? Like, I think UFC tries to build people too quickly, and they keep trying to get that big, big name. But at the same time, I think they don't want someone with that much power anymore. And so that's an interesting conflict, because you want another Conor McGregor, but you want another Conor McGregor, but at the same time, you do not want someone to have that much power again. And so it leaves us in a weird space where we're getting like UFC made, forced, and produced stars, when Conor McGregor was just pure himself, and that's why he became what he became. And so I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. And so you start to get more interested into the sport itself. You have to focus on the actual fights itself then, other than the talent. And the fights themselves haven't been incredible either. There's a lot of grappling, which I don't mind too much to an extent, but a casual viewer can definitely get turned off by something like that. Especially with the Dagestani, the influx of Dagestani people. It's just a weird state, and also there's no other promotion either. Like back 10 years ago, or a little less, we had UFC, but we also had Bellator, which obviously wasn't as big, not even close, but it was a clear second place. And they had some really solid fights, and a lot of old UFC guys would go there and fight, and it was always exciting. It was always interesting, in my opinion. A lot of big names, and also a lot of names that they've created themselves. We have Aaron Pico, and I got introduced to Douglas Lima through the Bellator. Michael Chandler, a lot of guys there that really were influential. MVP. You look at these other promotions now, like PFL and stuff, we don't really have a huge name that you can be like, yeah, I need to see them in the UFC. There's a couple, granted, like people love Dakota. Patchy Mix is going into the UFC now. Those are interesting, but it doesn't have the same feel as Bellator had. And it begins to make me think like that whole purchase thing was a mistake, but that's a whole different conversation. And it all adds to this weird state that MMA is in. TKO in control of UFC and WWE. The ticket prices are skyrocketing. The pay-per-view prices are extremely high. Are we getting the same value cards for higher prices? I don't think so. If you look at cards back in the day, like, wow, there are some fucking bangers. We don't really have that too much anymore. It's all just weird. It all feels forced and corporate, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. When we start watching MMA, it feels like somewhat underground. Like when I started watching, I was still a little bit embarrassed to like say I was watching it, because a lot of people didn't know what it was. A lot of people just thought it was pro wrestling for some reason. A lot of people just thought it was boxing. It's like, no, this is its own thing, and a lot of people didn't understand that. And so it's just in a weird space, and I'm trying to figure out a good way to go forward with it, because I still have a lot of interest in the sport, but as a collective whole, I'm trying to figure out how can we get past this little rut we're in. I think the new TV deal will be very telling as to the direction of the sport. I think being on ESPN forces UFC to be a little bit mainstream, and maybe they had to take that hit to get the sport to new heights. Maybe they needed to get that ESPN deal to make the sport bigger than it's ever been, but at the same time lose some of the magic. And hopefully, once they change TV providers, if they do, I'm hoping they do, hopefully that magic can come back a little bit. Hopefully we can get a Conor McGregor fight. Hopefully we can get some actual passion, get out of the fucking apex for God's sakes, and put on really amazing, incredible events that capture the imagination. Like all of us you know, like they did to all of us when we fell in love with the sport. Hopefully we can get back to that. And I feel there's some ways to do so. Just strip back the mainstream a little bit. Let's get back to what the sport actually is. It is a dirty sport. It is brutal. It is crazy, but it is incredibly meaningful, and people have a lot of passion and a lot of heart into it. And the stories, the characters, this is what we fall in love for. When you start to make everyone the same, it kills it for me. When everyone starts to be just UFC star number 3, the product starts to all feel the same, it fucking kills the magic for me. And that's a problem. Because I am the biggest fucking MMA fan on the planet. You don't want to kill the magic for me. If you're killing the magic for me, trust me, a lot of people would have fallen off by now then. So, yeah. I just want this shit to be fucking magical again. And it is sometimes. And there's, like I said, there's still people I love. I don't want to be too negative. Like, there's so many good people coming up. Jack Della Maddalena. Fucking Marab, I think, is amazing. You know, Jones Aspinall is a big fight. Alex Pereira, I think, is incredible. Like, there's still some really good names, and I'm never gonna stop watching MMA and UFC and never stop being passionate about it. I fucking love this shit to death. But let's get some good changes. And unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to wait until the end of this year to know how these things are gonna take effect. But that's okay. We've been patient long enough. So, yeah. I'm just hoping things get better. Nonetheless, enjoy. Combat sports as a whole is interesting right now. Boxing is very interesting right now. There's a ton of things to watch. Glory. Amazing. Bare knuckle. There's so much to watch. So, if you're getting burnt out, you don't have to watch it. There's plenty of things to do. There's plenty of things to watch in combat sports that aren't UFC. But when UFC's done at its best, it's the best thing on the fucking planet. So let's get back to that. I'm praying for it. Adios, guys.